Hello, I Dr. Gangavati. I'll be handling your fourth semester engineering maths. The title of the subject is Complex Analysis, Probability and Statistical Methods. So this subject I'm going to handle for you throughout the semester. So let us start with module number one. The module number one is calculus of complex function. So in this module, especially we are going to learn about analytic functions, differentiability, continuity, CR equations, and different methods to solve CR equations and how to construct the analytic functions. And there are different types, like when the different input has been given, how do we go ahead to find the solution. So that is what is the things that we're going to discuss here. So again, your subject code is 18 Math 41 and title of the subject is Complex Analysis, Probability and Statistical Methods. So let us get into the syllabus now. So the module 1 name itself says Calculus of Complex Functions. So to say brief about the complex function, so any number, try to recall a number, complex number. The complex number will be usually, it is going to be represented as z is equal to x plus iy. X plus iy is the complex number where x is called as the real part and y is called as the imaginary part. This is one way of representing it. The other way is we can also write it as alpha plus r minus I beta. So this is another way. So x and y may be your numbers or it can be a variables also. So here if x is equal to x plus iy, if z is equal to x plus iy, if you consider that as a complex number, then function of that, so function of w is equal to f of z is called as function of a complex variable. So I'll repeat, if z is here x plus iy, then w is equal to f of z, the function of a complex variable. Z is taken as a complex variable here because it is depending on x and y, where they are again the variables. So z is a function of complex variable. So f of z is a complex variable function then. So w is equal to f of z is called as a function of a complex variable. So here w is equal to f of z is equal to u plus iv. So we are going to consider u plus iv where u is a function of x and y and v is also a function of x and y, because w is a function of z where z in term depending on x and y. Therefore u and v, whatever we have taken for representing w as a complex number or a complex function, where those real and imaginary parts are going to be depending on the variables x and y. So there are few points that you need to remember here before getting to the exact syllabus. So there are few results that you need to remember. These results we are going to use while solving the problems, while proving the results, or when we are obtaining the CR equations. There are many other places where we need these basics. So the first one here is like e power ix is equal to cos x plus I sin x, the exponential form of sum of the cos and sin term in terms of z. So in terms of a complex number, so e to the power of ix is nothing but cos x plus I sin x. The second result which you need to remember is e power minus ix, which is nothing but cos x minus I sin x. So if you have a negative power, you have a negative here, minus here, and if you have a positive power, you have a plus here. So you need to remember that. And coming on to the next result, cos x. Cos x can be written as e power ix plus e power minus ix by 2. So how exactly it is? If you substitute for e power ix as cos x plus I sin x, plus e power minus is nothing but cos x minus I sin x, and when you add the terms, I sin x plus I sin x and minus I sin x gets cancelled, you will be having only 2 cos x. So that 2 gets cancelled and your denominator 2 gets cancelled with that, and you will get answer as cos x. So cos x is cos x in exponential term, and exponential term is e to the power of ix plus e power minus ix divided by 2. Similarly, sin x can be written as e power ix minus e power minus ix divided by 2i. So again, how do you remember this, or how do we get this? If you think in that way, you can just substitute for e power ix from the result 1 and e power minus ix from result 2. And whatever the terms gets cancelled, you can cancel them. With the remaining result, if you cancel the terms with the denominator, you'll get back your sin x. So that is where you have to remember it properly. So cos x is e power ix plus e power minus ix divided by 2, and sin x is e to the power of ix minus e power minus ix divided by 2i. So this is the trigonometric function in terms of exponential term. Now let us see what is cos ix is. So we may come across all these things. So cos of an imaginary term. So usually we come across cos x. Cos x is this. But what if we have an imaginary term here, that is cos ix? So cos ix is nothing but cos hyperbolic x. How exactly it is? You may also prove this result, but the proof of this is not required for us as per the syllabus. But for your understanding, you may work it out by using the formula again. So sin ix is I times of sin hyperbolic x. So these are the results which you need to remember. So if you want to see how exactly cos ix works is, so consider here cos ix. So we know the from this result we know that cos x is e power ix plus e power minus ix. In place of x we have got ix. So we get this as e to the power of I times of ix plus e to the power of minus I, as it is. In terms of x, in place of x we had got ix. So now this is nothing but I into I is I square. So you can also write it as e to the power of I theta is cos theta plus I sin theta, and e to the power of minus I theta is cos theta minus I sin theta. Whatever the terms gets cancelled, you can cancel them, and once you cancel it, you will get hyperbolic function. So again, exponential form of an hyperbolic function is e to the power of x plus e to the power of minus x divided by 2. So once you start solving this, so you can also see here I into I is I square. I square value is minus 1. So since I square is equal to minus 1, this result we will get it as e to the power of minus x plus, again I into I is I square, and I square is minus 1, minus and minus is plus is e to the power of x. So now multiply by 2 and divide by 2, you can do it. So from the result we have already having 1, 2 there. So this is not required. So e power x plus e power minus x by 2 is nothing but cos hyperbolic. So this is what the result that we had gotten. So you can remember this in your own way. So now similarly, sin ix is I times of sin hyperbolic x. So all these results are very, very important. You need to remember them. Now, what if we have hyperbolic function in terms of imaginary? So cos hyperbolic ix is cos x. Sin hyperbolic ix is I times of sin x. So these two results, the fourth and fifth results, look similar, but they are not exactly similar. So while using, you have to be very, very careful, and you have to remember them as they are. Okay, now coming on to cos hyperbolic. As I told you just now, exponential form of an hyperbolic function is e power x plus e power minus x by 2. And sin hyperbolic is e power x minus e power minus x by 2. So these results, along with this, you have to remember this De Moivre's theorem. The De Moivre's theorem you might have already come across when in your probably in 7th or 8th standard itself. If not, you have to remember this cos theta plus I sin theta to the power of n. So De Moivre's theorem says that when we have a trigonometric function of this type, and to the power of n can be written as cos n theta plus I sin n theta, and this holds for all positive values of n. So these are the 7 results that I have written here. There are many more results which we will be using. Out of those results, I felt these are mainly that we are going to use, and everyone should remember them. So it is like remember in your own way, but you have to remember them. Now let us see the polar form. Whatever we have discussed till now, everything is in terms of x and y. It is nothing but the Cartesian form. What if the complex function is given in polar form? Polar form is nothing but polar coordinates. The function is a function of polar coordinates. What are the polar coordinates? So once we say polar coordinates, that is nothing but r and theta. Any function, if it is depending on r and theta, r is a radius and theta is the angle, instead of x and y, then such functions are called as polar form of a function. So if you have x and y, If you have a coordinate axis as x and y, then it is a Cartesian form. And if the same coordinate axis, if you have in terms of r and theta, then it is going to be the polar form. So everybody must remember. So now let us see the polar form of a complex function. So polar form of a complex number, we know that z is equal to r cos theta plus I times of r sin theta. Consider this. So take out r as a common term. Take out r as a common term, we have cos theta plus I sin theta, and z is equal to r e to the power of I theta. So before that, how do we get this first of all? So how do we get this is we have taken a transformation. So any transformation from Cartesian to polar happens with the substitution x is equal to r cos theta. X is equal to r cos theta and y is equal to r sin theta. Remember, so whenever we want to confirm or whenever we want to transform Cartesian form to polar form, these are the two substitutions that we mainly use, and they are standard substitutions also. So now when we use them, so we have z is equal to r cos theta, that is x plus iy, where x is replaced by r cos theta and y is replaced by r sin theta. Take out r as a common term, we have cos theta plus I sin theta, and z is equal to r e to the power of I theta. So now what is this? So we have z is equal to x plus iy, and we have got z is equal to r e to the power of I theta now. So if it is in z is equal to x plus iy, then we say complex function which is in the Cartesian form. And if you say z is equal to r and r e to the power of I theta, then it is a complex variable function which is in polar form. So here w is equal to f of z is the main function that we are using, where f of z is nothing but u plus iv, where u is function of x and y and v is function of x and y. If we use this result, or if the problem has been given in this form, then it is in the Cartesian form. The same w, which is also again f of z, if it is u plus iv, where u and v depends on r and theta, then we call it as a polar form. So these things that we need to remember. So z is equal to x plus iy is a complex number or a complex function in Cartesian form, and z is equal to r e to the power of I theta, which is a complex function in polar form. So coming next is consider the modulus of z. So mod of z, which is nothing but r, which is equal to square root of x square plus y square. How exactly we do? So square root of x square plus y square, x is r cos theta and y is r sin theta. So when you square them and add them, r square cos square theta plus r square sin square theta, r square can be taken at outside, and if you take out r square from the square root, then it becomes r. So cos square theta plus sin square theta is 1. So the modulus of z results in square root of x square plus y square, and we call modulus of z as we call that as a mod z, and theta is equal to tan inverse of y by x. So how do we get this? So consider y by x. Y is nothing but r sin theta and x is nothing but r cos theta. So r and r gets cancelled. Sin theta by cos theta is tan theta, and we need expression for theta. So transfer tan towards the other side. So it becomes tan inverse of y by x, which is called as amplitude, or we also called it as argument of z. So r is called as modulus. We also call it as magnitude, and theta is called as the amplitude here. So these are the two things that you need to remember here. So now differentiability. Let us see some of the terminologies we have to use, which we use while working out this. We are going to mainly use in this module is differentiability. A complex valued function f of z is said to be differentiable. Any function f of z which is a complex valued function, in order to say it is a differentiable function, this must exist. F dash of z, which is equal to limit as delta z tends to 0, f of z, z plus delta z minus f of z by delta z, and it must be an unique value. In such case only we say function f of z is differentiable. Similarly, what is analytic function? So a complex valued function f of z is analytic. We say it is analytic if derivative exists, that is f dash of z exists at z0 and also in the neighborhood of z0. What is neighborhood of z0? If this is your area where you are finding the value, and take this as a z0. So at this point, obviously function is differentiable. So other than that, there should be a possibility that the function is differentiable in the neighborhood of z0 also. The nearby values of z0, a set of values of z0 also satisfies the equation. And such functions are called as analytic function. That is what is the meaning here. The analytic function, we also call it as harmonic, holographic, as well as regular function. So sometimes in the examination, it will be asked like prove that the function is holomorphic, show that the function is regular function. So you need not worry, it is nothing but an analytic function itself. So moving further, there is an important result which you are going to use in this module, which is CR equations. That is nothing but Cauchy-Riemann equations. And we are going to have this Cauchy-Riemann equation in both Cartesian as well as polar form. This statement, sometimes it will be given and sometimes we need to write state and prove Cauchy-Riemann equation would be the question. So now, what is the statement of this Cauchy-Riemann equation is? The necessary condition is that if W is equal to f of z is u plus iv is analytic. It is given it as analytic at a z. There exist 4 partial derivatives. What are those partial derivatives? Partial derivative of u with respect to x, partial derivatives of u with respect to y, v with respect to x, and v with respect to y. So dou u by dou x, dou u by dou y, dou v by dou x, and dou v by dou y. And they satisfies the equation that u with respect to x, dou u by dou x is equal to dou v by dou y, and dou v by dou x is equal to minus dou u by dou y. So if these 4 derivatives satisfies these equations, then such equations are called as Cauchy-Riemann equations. So now we need to prove the result. What has been given for us in order to prove? Given result is that f of z is analytic. The statement given in the problem is given f of z is an analytic at z is equal to x plus iy, which is given for us. So when do we say function is analytic? If f dash of z exists. So once it is analytic, automatically the function must be a differentiable function. So once it is differentiable, this term should, by the definition of differentiability, limit as delta z tends to 0, f of z plus delta z minus f of z by delta z. So now consider that z is x plus iy. Then delta z is delta x plus I delta y. So delta z is nothing but the small incremental z, which happens only when there is a small change in x as well as small change in y. That is what is the meaning is. And f of z here is a function of u and v. So now let us consider f of z plus delta z. So why do we need that? So we are going to consider this expression. So here we need to know what is f of z plus delta z and what is f of z. F of z is already there. So we need to find f of z plus delta z. So it is nothing but u of x is z is replaced by z plus delta z. So x should be replaced by x plus delta x, y should be replaced by y plus delta y. So this is for u. Similarly, v. So now consider this expression f of z plus delta z minus f of z by delta z, which is nothing but this. And group the terms accordingly. So now f dash of z is nothing but, observe this, limit z plus delta z minus f of z by this, and limit as delta z is replaced by delta x plus I delta y tends to 0, and here also delta z is replaced by delta x plus I delta y. Now let us consider the case 1. Case 1 is, let us consider delta y is 0. It means that the small change in y is 0. There is a small change only happens in x. That is what the meaning is. So if delta y is 0, then actually the delta x was delta x plus I delta y, and now consider delta y is 0. So only delta x is there. So delta z is going to be resulting in delta x. And delta z tends to 0 is going to be changed as delta x tends to 0. So do these changes in the above expression. So in this expression, we are going to do the changes. This is what the expression we get. And now, by the definition of differentiability again, limit as delta x tends to 0, this term is nothing but dou u by dou x. So compare your definition of a differentiability, and the same limit as delta x tends to 0, this expression is delta v by delta y. Okay, so call this as result 1. Similarly, consider the case 2 now. Consider now delta x is 0. So once delta x is 0, delta z is going to be resulting in I delta y, and delta z tends to 0 results in I delta y tends to 0. And here product of two terms is 0. So I cannot be 0 because we know I is square root of minus 1, and only delta y tends to 0 is possible. So make the same substitution in your main equation. So this is what the result we get. And So delta x is also 0 here. We are supposed to replace it. And by the definition of differentiability, this is I times 1 by I is nothing but minus I. This gives us the result dou u by dou y, and this gives us the result dou v by dou x. Call the equation as 2. So now compare your equation 1 and 2. This is our 1 and this is our 2. So both the equations is having f dash of z on both RHS. So we can compare the LHS. Now just make the comparison of real and imaginary parts. When I take the real part, dou u by dou x is this. And when I consider the imaginary part, this is what the result we get. So ux is vy and vx is minus uy. This is what is the proof that we. So the proof is very, very important. Hope you have understood. If there is any questions, you can get back to me at any time. Thank you.